All right. Well, welcome everybody to this episode where we're going to do some deep dive into the show that caused the phenomenon of years of people going, "What is your favorite scary movie?" And
What's your favorite scary movie?
then we'll even ask the question about what happens now that these movies have been out for so long that when someone asks, "What's your favorite scary movie?" the answer is Scream.
Yeah, I mean,
like-
that is a good point. That is a good one.
It's like Screamception.
Yeah, this movie started. It was like a meta commentary on like the state of like slashers and horror movies, and now it's come around to where there's legacy sequels about that exact thing. Is like
come
the
full
resurgence. There's been like so many different cycles of horror movies and stuff. It feels like they're these new ones, the new ones that just came out are commenting more on like the elevated horror and sort of like the extreme gore, whereas the original Scream was more talking about like the 70s and 80s slasher movies.
Yeah, and then so is Scream now like that image of the serpent that's eating its own tail? It's just like, now we're just going to comment on ourselves.
Well, this is for
We're welcome to Hand Puppet Theater.
Welcome to Horror Dork. I'm Mr. Sir. Joining me as always is Golden.
Hello.
And the Anthony, who had to manhandle his kitty cat.
Yeah.
Had to wrangle that cat.
He'll be jumping all over the place if we let him out here.
Yeah, he's still a kid.
We're talking about Anthony, not even the cat.
Yeah.
We had to keep him pinned down, otherwise he'll just be chewing on the cords.
You gotta seatbelt him in.
So today we're talking about Wes Craven's classic 1996, the movie Scream, written by Kevin Williamson.
Yeah, the movie that put him on the map, you'd say, huh?
What is up with you and
Kevin
voices?
Williamson?
Yeah.
Like,
I was going to say it's not Wes Craven.
I never even knew who this Wes Craven fellow was until I saw this.
Yes, this is the movie that made Wes Craven famous. In actuality, if you think about it.
It wasn't, his.
How he's Bill Murray in Caddyshack.
It definitely wasn't his weird tale about a burn victim. In Elm Street.
Victim?
He was definitely the victim.
No.
He was.
Yeah.
He was minding his own business.
Minding his
and
own
all these
business,
parents
killing kids.
Came and threw Molotov cocktails into his house. Like, come on, that's not cool. He was wearing a sweater and everything.
So
an upstanding citizen.
So do you think
people with
Billy and
fedoras are.
Stu were just minding their own business?
First of all,
it's quite a bit of a difference.
Matthew Lillard definitely was. He's just a dumb follower.
All that stuff at the end's like him ad-libbing mostly, like 80% of it.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
He also got really stabbed. It's a little known fact.
I'll be right back.
That was Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, Skeet Ulrich when he got stabbed with the umbrella.
I was kidding. I was just making stuff up. Like
no, but he did actually. When Nev Campbell comes out of the closet when she's dressed like Ghostface,
I think it's the second stab.
Yeah,
it actually
misses
punctured
the
through
stop.
an old.
He goes, ah!
And that's like real pain because it like opened up an old. He had heart surgery.
Everybody's like, I didn't think Skeet was that good of an actor. But man, it really feels like he got stabbed. He's just fucking bleed. Could you imagine being like on a horror set and you get stabbed for real, like on accident? Obviously, and you start bleeding out, and like everybody just thinks it's really good acting, and you're just like, guys, no, seriously, I'm fucking dying. Like
Brandon Lee, he's gonna win. He's gonna win an Oscar for this role.
It's like he's playing dead so well.
So
we got it in one.
I feel dirty.
Golden. What's your relationship with this movie? When did you remember?
Yeah, when did you guys start dating?
It was when it first came out. I think I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it on whatever media it was on.
VHS, yeah, 1996.
I don't know when that stuff changed over from. I was watching on Laserdisc.
There's DVD then, but yeah,
I was watching on Laserdisc, so it was like
nobody had a DVD player then.
And I mean, it was one of those things where I liked the premise of it, and then I got so annoyed with the fact that it took over everything. Like everyone that Halloween was Ghostface, and everybody was like, "Oh, what's your favorite scary movie?" And it's like, fucking just like.
It's because
when
like
I
there
just started
wasn't
like
like for a long time there really wasn't like the 90s horror stuff was kind of whatever.
Yeah, there's some. It's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. Like, because there's Candyman and
Candyman. Oh,
That was 4 years earlier.
Candyman 2, Farewell to the Flesh. No, but, I mean there was some good stuff in the 90s, but definitely it was a resurgence for horror.
Yeah, I mean it like really kicked off the slasher, like because really those movies aren't slasher movies. Candyman's not a slasher, really.
No, I
It's a
mean,
vengeful
Like
spirit.
it's like a supernatural horror.
well,
He's really the
there's
good
no
guy.
supernatural slashers, so slasher villains. I'm just kidding. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
are
feel
you
like
comparing
Candyman-
Jason to
I feel like that's actually a good point, Mr. Sir, because that's a movie I feel like that could ride the line. Like someone could argue it to be a slasher, but you could have an equally valid argument that it's not.
Yeah, I mean mostly it's like a psychological
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I would agree with that.
movie.
Yeah, I don't think that Candyman's a slasher.
I don't think so either.
Well, nobody asked for your opinion.
Everybody asked for my opinion. Though
Nobody said you did.
the one person watching, which
what's your? I know we kind of got into this in the Scream 6 one, but since we're talking about the original, let's talk
You
about
want me to go through my story again?
yes.
Okay. Well,
Don't roll your eyes at me.
no, I didn't. I honestly didn't. No,
I like how
I'll tell you what I did.
we're focused
was
though on
deciding-
Mr. Sir's face, so we can just see his
That
reaction
was
while
me,
Anthony
like,
tells his story.
Deep thinking, like, do I start at the beginning, or do
Just saying, do you want us to see you while you're telling the story? Or do we just want to see what Mr. Sir's reaction is while you tell the story? Because that was fucking
Whoops.
grade A.
Who's in charge of the cameras?
Grade A camera work on that one.
I was so self-absorbed I didn't notice what was going on. So yeah, okay. It was a dark and stormy night. No. It probably was actually. So I think I've talked about it before. My dad's cousin owned a video store, and I think whenever RoboCop came out, do you know what year that was roughly?
87.
What year did Terminator 2 come out?
Terminator 2 came out in 92.
Okay, so like
91.
I was like 7 or 8, and then my dad let me watch Terminator and a bunch of other movies. Like we talked about Species. After my mom found out that, because my parents were divorced, I'd go to my dad every other weekend. She got very lenient about what I could watch, because before that it was like Disney and Star Wars, nothing else.
Gotcha.
I mean TV movies, like that's how I seen Halloween for the first time and stuff. But if it wasn't on TV or if it was rated PG-13 or whatever, doesn't matter. So they would set horror movies aside for me at the video store, because they knew that I would definitely come in to rent it. It was a guaranteed sale, and I don't know, I would sit and talk to them about movies and probably annoy the crap out of them. So I figured maybe they thought if they could get me out of the store fast enough, because you know how I could be if I'm like really into something. I can talk your
for
ear.
sure.
He's like, hey guys, I don't know if you know this, but it's 1955 horror classic Blobs. Because you got guaranteed. I assume that you had a lisp. I assume anybody that gets like really hardcore passionate about something just gets a lisp instantly. So they all talk like this.
It was the movie stores treated me well, and not just because it was my dad's cousin at the one, but like they would let me buy the movie posters and stuff for like super cheap, cheaper than they sold them for. Anyways, that's how I got that awesome poster. I wish I still had of the promo for Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers. I love that poster. I don't know why. I love that stupid movie.
He is very goofy.
So Scream comes out, and my mom picked up the movies, because she would usually have me call ahead, and because I was keen on usually what was coming out on that Tuesday. So then she'd go pick up our order, and she got Scream, and they were watching it when I came downstairs. I didn't ask for Scream. I had no intention of Scream, because it just looked like it was going to be, I thought I was the ultimate horror fan. So it just looked like it was going to be the movie that was marketed for
Fucking
people
gatekeeper.
that aren't horror fans. Yeah, I was back then.
So you were
it was
Jamie
cool.
Kennedy.
Oh, I wanted to be after that. No, because I like Jamie Kennedy's character Randy, because like my dream job was the job you probably had at that time. I didn't want to do anything else but work in a video store. I don't know why. I'd not even be like a filmmaker, nothing. I wanted to be a
glorious.
clerk at a video store.
What's the werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom? Not Elliot's mom or the mom from E.T. E.T.'s mom.
Yeah, E.T.'s mom.
What's the werewolf movie with E.T.'s mom?
The Howling. Check the horror section.
Another excellent Jamie Kennedy impression.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So, anyways, the funny story about this is I came down the stairs and my mom and sister were watching the movie, or I came home from sports or something, and sports,
Well, I was like,
soccer.
well, you're already losing now.
Yeah, soccer.
Believability on this one. Came home from sports. I was a towel guy.
And they're watching it, and it's the part where Ghostface, quote unquote, stabs Billy, and he's got the blood smeared all over his shirt. It's like, oh, the special effects in this movie are just awful, and I'm really annoying the shit out of my mom and sister. My mom's like, Anthony, this is actually a pretty good movie. It doesn't matter about special effects and stuff, which at that point, the movies that I loved, like, Reanimator and stuff, like, they're not, the special effects don't look realistic. They're great.
Yeah.
And here I am bitching about this. And then the twist happened, and where reveals that Billy faked his death, and that he's a kid, and it just like blew my mind, and I was like, oh shit.
They can fake death?
Just because like it hit me harder than it would have if I had been watching the movie, because I was just proving this point about how new horror doesn't know anything about old horrors, whatever I thought back then when I was like 11, whatever, how old it was. And when that happened, I ate crow so hard on that. I think it still scarred me this day because I still get nervous or anxiety if I like state something as being like an ultimate statement,
I don't have that problem.
No, I know you don't. Believe me, I know.
I'll state something that I 100% don't believe in as an ultimate statement. Yeah.
And because
die on that hill.
The dialogue is fun, the characters are fun in this movie, but it's still, because they do a good job with the characters and the situations they put the characters in, there's still tension, there's still fear. I just felt like it was like a perfect movie back then, and I loved Halloween, and this movie could in some alternate universe be a sequel to Halloween like years later.
Except the fact that they're watching Halloween.
That's what I'm saying.
Blows a hole in your whole theory.
No.
Was it a documentary? Was it a documentary in the movie?
Like it's a meta thing, kind of like Halloween 3 was, where it shows the commercial for the first Halloween movie.
Halloween 3 is garbage.
No, it's not.
You know that's my feelings. Why would you even bring that up?
Halloween 3 rips.
I can't wait till we get to the Halloween series. So I'm gonna make sure you're there for that episode.
So I'll call in dead. I'll fake my own death, and your mind will be blown.
I know, because what's gonna happen is he'll watch the movie and he'll be like, it's not as bad as I remember.
I promise you, I will never say that.
He'll be like, I gotta call it dead, because if I come in and say that I kind of liked it,
I can promise you, you'll never say that.
I will never be able to speak ever again.
I've watched it.
Like some sort of like Horcrux breaks.
It's funny though.
Hell opens up. Hell freezes over.
It's funny though, because like when you're telling the story and you're talking about you as a kid and being like this ultimate horror fan, and you were calling out the things that were wrong about it.
I wasn't.
But that just reminded me, because like, there's some people out there, not me, but some people out there that know something about things and will see it in a movie and say, that's not realistic. I would never do something like that. But it just reminded me of like my dad did that, but it was for the dumbest thing. My dad was even though like he was in the Navy and he was an engineer and all this stuff, but when I was growing up, he worked in an auto glass installer. So it would always be watching a movie and like the windshield would shatter. You'd be like, oh, windshields don't do that. And that was his thing. Like in every movie, if I would see something happen to a windshield, I would go, fuck.
So you're watching Maniac and you're like, shut up, Dad.
But my dad would be like, yeah, windshields don't do that. Like, like, why is this your thing? Like, why are you going to be the subject matter expert on windshields? Obviously, it wasn't parenting.
It's not made out of the windshield material. That's why. Duh.
But he would always be like,
What's your relationship with Scream, Mr. Sir?
I remember watching it when it came out.
Taking a casual dating.
I was probably like 10 or 11 when it came out on VHS. and I remember liking it, and I just remember like because of the whodunit aspect of it, I do remember liking that, but I also was like, I always like my slasher guys sort of like as like a superpowered kind
Like
of
as the driving personality.
yeah, kinda. And so the Scream movies never really like, I don't know, like I watched them and I remember watching them, but they never like made a super deep impression on me like as like a horror fan. Like I always like I like the first one, and I have an appreciation as a series as a whole, but as like a horror fan until recently, until we started doing like watching these again, I didn't really never real they weren't really my movies. I was always more of like an 80s guy. Um and sort of Scream also has a reputation of being the best thing, and then a million imitators coming after it, and then the
Like scary
imitators coming. Well, yeah, that too.
I mean, I'm saying they dug in deep on being the Scream movies, the scary movie ones. That was their go-to more than I feel like any other horror franchise. At least the first one was very just Ghostface
Yeah,
and
the
the
first
high
two.
Ghostface.
Oh, scary movie.
Yeah,
Like, oh yeah, the first one is. The second one is not. The second one
I
is
know,
the
yeah,
yeah,
haunted
that's
house.
haunted house one. Yeah,
The
And a
first. I
strong
actually
hand.
I rewatched
Strong hand.
Scary Movie as well.
Did you?
Because I was watching. When I was
See a Jim
watching it.
Bob, Billy Bob, or whatever when he's leaving the house.
Yes, all I could think of was like when I was watching Scream, I was like, I'm way more familiar with with this with the parody scenes from Scary Movie than I am with the
Oh,
actual.
really?
Because I think definitely watched Scary Movie way more than I watched Scream.
I've seen Scary Movie a bunch, but definitely not more.
Yeah, I rewatch. There's some stuff in that movie that doesn't exactly hold up. You know, Mrs. Mann and all the stuff with Ray.
It's hilarious.
Doesn't exactly hold up, but there's other stuff that's pretty funny in that movie. It's really good.
What about the Bud Light commercial parody? The what's that thing? It
Again,
goes on way
like
too long.
you would you would have to be, you know, my age to at least
older, yeah.
at least my age to understand that joke.
Like with me, I think it's that I did enjoy Scream. It's just then the people that were touting it as like this the second coming and this amazing thing. That's when I stopped really caring for it as much because I'm like I don't think it deserves that place that they're giving it.
Gotcha.
And it's
What
not that
about
I didn't
now?
enjoy it. I still don't think it does. Honestly, I don't.
Really?
I mean, I enjoy them,
I
but
gotta disagree with you on that one.
part of it's probably gonna be because I'm just I stick to my guns on stuff.
Do you feel this had a huge effect on the genre?
I mean, it did. I think it
Oh,
had
it
a huge
definitely
effect on a
did,
lot of
for
stuff,
sure.
just because like
I don't
people
think that's
latched
debatable.
onto it for so long, like all the stuff from it. Though, what's your scare? You know, like
I know what you did last summer's
Yeah.
Urban
So how did you
Legends. All
feel when
those.
Saw
oh yeah,
came
that
out?
was a
imitators.
whole.
So what about other franchises that just boomed, like Saw?
I feel like Saw's just
That was like
even worse because like I think they're on Saw 300 now, and it's
Well, when
like
that came out and everyone's like, "Oh, this is the next greatest thing," as Andrew would say, since sliced bread.
it was the same thing. Like
it did sort of torture porn. Sort of did become like the new like sort of like
But
subgenre.
I'm just
of horror.
curious, like his
I-
aspects he didn't.
I
like
again
Scream.
really enjoyed
everyone was
Saw,
saying that.
Oh, I
but
got
then it became like that thing that everybody was like. All of a sudden, all these people are doing like that, the jigsaw doll and all these things, and it's like, and it took off like to the point where again, I think it was being elevated above its station. Like I don't think it was that good. I enjoyed it, I really did. But then when everybody's like, "Ugh, Saw is so amazing," and I enjoyed Saw too. And then I think by the time we got to like Saw 3, I'm like, and then Saw 20, then now you're like, okay, what? How the fuck is?
Oh yeah,
And
well then it's not only that, but then it's not just, you can't really blame the horror movie for going back to the well, but then you have like all the imitators as well. Like some of those are okay, like the first Hostel, but then like
see, I didn't like the first Hostel. It was to me, it was two movies. Like it was here's a softcore porn, and now here's torture,
right.
and it felt very disjointed to me.
I think I'd have to rewatch that movie because I liked it when it came out, but my sensibilities have changed a bit, and I think my my taste for Eli Roth stuff has kind of changed a little bit as well.
Also, didn't they take a blowtorch to an eye?
Oh yeah,
No,
So-
already not a fan.
and then they cut it.
Yeah,
and then
I was
the
like,
ooze.
Yeah, my dad was eating a burrito when that happened from KFC actually.
That movie is all eyeball stuff, fingernail stuff, tendon stuff.
Let me tell you, like my grandfather had a butcher shop where he processed deer, but other animals as well. Okay, sorry,
Humans.
vegans.
long pig.
And I got a long pig for you. It's not really long. Extends didn't come in this month. So, anyways, he's eating his burrito, and that stopped him. I feel like it's crazy because he would touch like animal guts, whatever. When people didn't clean their deer and brought it in, he'd gut it out, or we would, whatever. And it never phased him. But that eye scene and all the movies he's watched, because my dad loved movies as well, that stopped him dead in his tracks, and he had to put his burrito down. I never witnessed anything like it before or after with him watching movies, you know. So that's just a testament to Hostel.
Yeah.
With what's funny too, like you talk about fingernail stuff and things like that. The fingernail scene that got me more than like the most, I think, of any other time I've seen a fingernail scene in a movie, surprisingly, was Stir of Echoes. And then they use it twice in the same fucking movie. And then, and Stir of Echoes wasn't that good. Where she's like clawing on the ground, and then it just her fingernail goes whoop, just pops up.
Oh, that the ring.
And then it was followed immediately. It was followed immediately by the fucking two.
Wow.
Because they're just doing quick shots of it. And Stir of Echoes, was not that good of a movie. The book was really, it was like
the book's way better, but I really like Stir of Echoes.
I enjoyed it, except for the fact that I thought that the ghost was being an asshole. Because you're giving clues of dig, and you're not saying giving any idea of where.
Yeah, but
so
I don't want to get into the reason.
So just going dig. Well, how about you fucking tell me where? And then it wasn't even digging. It wasn't even digging. It was breaking a wall.
The character.
It's not digging.
The character had a handicap before they were murdered.
Oh my.
Okay, but you know what? She knew the difference between dig and break a wall.
So how's
Also,
that?
fucking
What,
orange juice
how's
in that
that
movie
font
pissed me off.
when the title comes on? What'd you think of the font? The scream. That is like the most 90s cheesy.
Because I don't think it would
shit
be
I've
as
ever-
90s. I think it's the song that starts playing that is like really the.
Dude, I know it's the
The dynamic
that
font.
that is. It's like the red like broken typewriter font is like the most 90s font.
Maybe.
I don't know. It was just funny to me, especially because if they knew what the movie was going to become, I think they would have put a proper, looking, Scream type face logo on there. Yeah, that I really love that opening scene is so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Barrymore. I wish I could go back to a time when I didn't know any of the stuff that's in the movie. Like I can't really tell you like a time where I didn't know that Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard are the killers, or that Drew Barrymore dies at the beginning.
That was a huge thing too
Drew,
when that happened.
Drew Barrymore was going to be the main actress, but she didn't want to do it. But she still wanted to do the movie for Wes, and Wes Craven liked the idea of her playing Casey Becker because it harkened back to Psycho.
Yeah,
with Janet Leigh being killed. Spoiler for Psycho. Janet Leigh being killed halfway through the movie.
You're watching this, and you don't know how, and
it references Psycho.
Yep.
And Janet Leigh is Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, who plays Laurie Strode in Halloween, and Scream is just so heavy.
She also could never take a shower after that movie.
And Henry Winkler plays the Fonz.
Yeah. You do that. You fucking don't stop. Don't you?
Well,
was Psycho
I heard about how awful
was Psycho like the first instance where they took a big name and just fucking killed him?
I don't know. That's been debated.
I know that's a huge, like a lot of people talk about how that was a huge thing back then, that she was such this big actress, and everybody thought, and all of a sudden they kill her like so early in the movie. They're like,
I mean, they put her on.
It's not even early. It is literally the midway mark.
Yeah,
that
but
she's
that's still
like
early
40
for like
minutes or so.
someone that you think is going to be a final girl, even though
Yeah,
this
well,
is
you're
before final
following.
girl
Then
thing,
you're
yeah.
instead of following like her, the movie then switches to narratives to Norman. You're like, oh God, I got to be with this fucking guy.
No, it switches to
Creep.
No, it switches to
It does switch to Norman for a little bit because he's got to dispose of the body.
I mean, a
and
little
stuff.
bit, yeah, but it follows
Would never
first the
hurt a
detective,
fly.
then the detective dies, then it follows the sister and the sister's or Janet Leigh's boyfriend in the movie as they're trying to investigate it. So yeah, I mean, you do get a little Norman, but it's the only time it's real short where like he cleans up the blood and stuff. He's like, oh God, mother, what have you done? Blood or whatever he says. And then there's a really cool
It's Hershey
shot
syrup.
of Norman standing by the pond after the detective's murdered, and it's this
I love the fact that it was Hershey syrup.
Yeah.
That they used for blood
chocolate sauce.
because back then that in black and white it looked the same. So they're like,
I'm Alfred Hitchcock, and I love fat pussies.
there's been so many movies that
What?
I love
Something.
fat pussies. I'm Alfred Hitchcock.
He does like big cats.
yeah, I was gonna say, Alfred Hitchcock would have definitely put a pun in there, but
I'm sharp.
or a dig at the
I love
sponsors.
sloppy pussies.
Okay.
I mean, there's been
Happening.
there's been so many times that I've been like taken by the whole like you go to watch a movie for somebody in it and then they're like gone early and you're like, oh, actually, it's
Every Bruce Campbell movie.
right.
you
Bruce Campbell's in Congo and he's gone. Okay,
He's in the
Oh yeah,
opening
he's the
scene.
opening. He's like the dude's
Yeah.
son, and the dude doesn't even care that Bruce Campbell dies.
Joe Don Baker.
Or like
Yeah.
like Pitch Black.
Yeah, Joe Don Baker.
Pitch
yeah.
Black, which started my enjoyment of Vin Diesel movies. I didn't watch I rented it not for Vin Diesel because I don't even know if he was known really. known
No,
then.
that was like
It was for Claudia
That was
Fast
a
and
Black.
movie.
Furious.
Yeah,
It was for Claudia Black, who is she's in Farscape, which was like one of my favorite sci-fi shows. So I'm like, I'm gonna watch this
You
movie.
had some
Claudia
movies
Black's in it, and Claudia Black's the
Guy is, like,
first
right,
person
yeah.
that get. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I go, wow, who's this bald dude? I'll follow him, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
That was one of the
he's so
movies
cool.
they set aside for me at the movie store.
I was following Vin Diesel's career ever since he did the
Boiler
Street
Room.
Shark thing for the Toy Fair like
No, I'm not that
presentation
guy.
a million years
No,
ago.
I liked him in. I ended up liking him in Pitch Black,
These guys are called the Street
Wasn't he
Sharks.
in-
This is Blades or whatever.
and he was in Saving
That's a
Private
funny
Ryan.
video. Look that up on YouTube.
He was in Saving Private Ryan before he was famous, but I was.
That was like I think the same year as Pitch Black.
But yeah, I was like watching Pitch Black.
that
I'm like,
before Knockaround Guys.
I think Knockaround Guys was filmed way before,
Okay.
but they shelved it. They shelved it for the
Oh
longest
yeah, they
time.
shelved it until
And then he became famous,
Fast
and they're like,
Furious came
they're
out.
like, oh
No, it was
look,
before Fast and Furious, right?
it was what when he came
Knockaround
out.
Guys.
It might have come out because what's funny is the stars they had in that, and they go, yeah, we can't sell it with was it John Malkovich, Seth Green, Barry Pepper, like all these guys are in it.
Yeah, I
and
know
these
they
big
all
names,
became big
and they're
names.
like watching it. They're looking at the movie, going, nah, nobody's gonna want to
No
see
star
this.
power. I
Then
remember
Vin
hearing
Diesel
that.
becomes famous. They're like, and that movie has an awesome bar fight scene, but
Right.
There's literally a movie
500.
called Being John Malkovich.
there is, and that's the thing. It's
that's
like
a marketable guy.
and I'm trying to remember who was the father in it that John Malkovich.
I
was
literally
his,
have no
his
idea
right
what
hand man. It
movie
was
this
I want
is.
to say
Can't
like
remember.
it was fucking
Used to watch
Bowser in the first Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, Jack
Dennis
Black.
Hopper.
Just how fucking Dennis Hopper was in it too. So like there's literally all this star power,
That's who one of Anthony's voices.
and they
is
say
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis
is?
Hopper.
Yeah, man, you talk like that sometimes, man.
He's
Yeah,
like, how much
man.
go juice we got? How much Oh, really? You went Blue Velvet
Love
on
Blue
that
Velvet,
shit?
yeah.
He's over there
That's a
just
good
fucking
one.
jerking it in the closet. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's why he was off camera when we first started. He was just watching us with his fucking nitrous oxide.
You
going.
are blue.
Slower.
That's my Dennis.
Like,
Singing Blue Velvet.
but yeah, it's hilarious that they're like all of a sudden they're like, oh,
That's
finally,
Blue Ribbon.
they're like, finally we have a star that we can hang this whole movie on. And it's like, what? You had fucking stars. The whole movie is star packed.
Yeah, but they didn't have the star power of Vin Diesel.
But that's
This
the thing
movie
is,
has star power.
It does.
And it was almost a similar situation.
Yeah, this movie
Oh, yeah?
has a ton of people.
Yeah, because
I love who's your fave Scream. This movie's been talked about a lot, so let's just get into like
we're
our
gonna
favorite
spoil the
stuff.
Scream series, just so you know.
Who's your favorite of the in the movie?
This movie?
Yes.
Matthew Lillard. No, I like Matthew Lillard because I like his
no.
style.
That's for me trying to like. That's a tough question.
Dewey,
Oh, okay.
Dewey's
I was like-
Dewey's my guy.
Also, though, I do also love the actor that plays the fat cameraman.
Kenny.
He's
a funny.
He played Meatloaf in the Meatloaf biopic.
Yeah, he's a famous actor. Oh,
Yeah, he's in a ton of. He's in Deadwood too.
Damn,
Oh yeah, the right hand man in Deadwood.
So when
I
that
know
guy
you-
dies, I'm watching this movie with Courtney. Well, she's not really watching it. She's reading a book. I'm watching it, talking. And when that guy gets killed, I go, oh my God, they killed Kenny. And then right after I said that, I remembered I was watching that movie with my dad in 1996 or 97, whenever at home. And when that happened, my dad said that as well. And I was like, oh my God.
You've become your
So
dad.
I've become my dad. I made this. It's come full circle.
It's funny because I was watching the movie and I was like, a windshield would not react that way.
Yeah, Kenny, I know you're about 50 pounds overweight. I forget the next line. She's like, but when I say let's go, please interpret that as move your fat tub of lard ass now.
Poor guy.
Is Gail your Gail?
He likes Deputy Doofus.
I don't know, man. Like, never thought about who my favorite character was in Scream. That's
Some
Jamie
people.
Kennedy.
Some people.
You wanted to be
there's,
Jamie
favorite,
Kennedy. I feel
favorite,
like it's
Jamie
gotta be
Kid
Jamie
for sure.
Kennedy.
Some people's favorite final girl is Sidney.
yeah, she's not my favorite final girl.
She isn't mine.
But I do like Sydney's character a lot. My problem with Sydney is the sequels, because she's dealt with so much shit. I know a lot of horror movies do this, and 2 is the only movie I can think of that really comes close to effectively portraying some kind of psychological damage for her dealing with the events.
Yeah, but then they have her like in a play where she's surrounded by a bunch of guys with masks. Like, maybe don't have her do that.
Yeah, she has an anxiety attack.
So you think she
No,
should have
she's
been
like being attacked by the Ghostface guy
Right,
during it.
But I mean,
though,
like,
as
even
well.
before that starts happening, and then she sees. Okay,
Yeah.
no matter. We'll
So
talk
do you
about
think she
Yeah,
should have
well,
been more
that's
like
next week.
Jamie Lee Curtis's character in the Halloween series, where she just fucking holes up in a house and becomes a
I
recluse?
like Laurie Strode in Halloween 2. Rob Zombie's.
Oh,
Halloween
okay.
I was like,
She's like
Like
she's like more.
when she
bro-
finally turned 18 and could
She's-
show her
she's
boobs.
honestly
dealing with trauma.
like she's honestly like kind of close to the Billy Loomis's daughter character from the new Scream series.
Yeah.
Laurie Strode from the Rob
Kinda.
Zombies. She's like kind of like a imperfect, broken final girl.
But like every character that
I always
survived the
prefer those.
events of the first Halloween
The Core 4.
has some emotional or just mental trauma that they cannot get past. And I feel like that's so accurate. That's why I that's why I really enjoy Halloween 2.
Gotcha.
Zombies. So that's why it's one of my favorite movies, is because
Never
of
seen
that
it.
aspect alone.
Yeah.
Because you didn't. I know you didn't.
I
I know you
hated
didn't like the
first one.
remake. Yeah.
So I was like, you're not gonna fool
So I
me
think-
twice.
I think, that's one of the reasons with Sidney, maybe why I feel like she portrays a tough character very well, a strong character. I like Sidney. I don't know. She's just not my favorite.
Gotcha.
And you love when
Uh,
she dialed 911 on the
I
computer.
really like,
Love
now that I'm older, I really like Matthew Lillard's character.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, Matthew Lillard's character is
It's
just
just so
Matthew Lillard.
funny.
He like that's his character. That's
very
who
over
he
the
is.
top.
He plays himself
Stu.
in things, just the same way Christopher Walken plays Christopher Walken and everything.
Yeah,
Christopher
personality,
Walken's in.
I agree.
Matthew Lillard's the same way. He has his thing, which is why he was a great Shaggy, because it's the same character. And I mean, I like the fact that you watch
The
this
Scream
and, like,
movies are kind of
Loomis
Scooby Doo's.
and Skeet Ulrich.
Often it's
right,
like, oh, it was
Yeah,
him all along.
meddling kids. Like Skeet Ulrich's character was
6.
clearly like all about the killing stuff, and then you like Matthew Lillard's was like seriously just like my friend's doing it, like so I want to be part of it.
Yeah, I guess that was like part of
Yeah.
like one of the like a character fix was like a note was like it's scarier if they don't have a motive. So like one of them has like a really complex, well, not a complex motive, but like a motive.
His motive was your mom's a
Even though
whore.
It's lame.
That was one of the
but-
aspects that Kevin Williamson. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good point.
Yeah, he wanted and then Stu just has no motive.
Well, that like Wes
Just
Craven
following along. It's peer
was
pressure.
like he needs some kind of
Very Dylan and Eric. But that was later. That was Columbine was 99. I mean that was years
watch a
later.
few movies, take a few notes. It was fun.
It's just him on the phone
Movies
when he's
don't
like, he
make
realizes
sense.
that they're gonna get caught. And he's like, please don't. Like he's like pleading with, like the fact that you've got this character that's basically pleading with someone who you killed all her friends and tried to kill her to not tell on you. It really it reminds me of like stuff like when you're a kid, not obviously the killing, but like we growing up on our street, we had horse
Kill
chestnuts, and horse chestnuts, if you've never seen them, they're like a spiked ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a spike. So of course, as
Round nut
kids,
inside the
our
shell.
game was whipping them at each other.
Right.
And I remember the one time we were doing that, and I winged it at my friend, and it stuck. Like it literally stuck in his forehead.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out, and he's getting ready to run home because that's what you do.
Right.
Everybody runs home now in hopes that you don't get in trouble. And my idea was like I tackled him, and I'm trying to pull it out so he can't, because then he can't prove it, even though there's all the holes.
Yeah, really.
And I'm like, you need to calm down, man. And I'm like trying to play and making it worse. And it's like that just reminds me of like
Grandparents always
when
had
you're
a
a
horse
kid.
chestnut tree in their yard. Yeah.
It's like they're brutal. They were like nature was
He
like
got hit in the eye with one 'cause he did the same thing.
Why would you?
And there's like a little bit of blood coming out of his eye. And I really thought he was going to be blind because of it, but he was fine.
Yeah, those fucking things are not to be fucked with. Do not mess with horse chestnut trees. Like, and I don't even. Oh, they're horrible. But yeah, like that just reminds me of like the thing. Like you're doing this stuff.
Hang up on me and I'll throw a horse chestnut at your face.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a movie now with it. Killers,
You little bitch.
around horse chestnuts. But like it just reminds me, like, because like when you're younger, like that like all of a sudden you're gonna get in trouble, and you're like, I'm just gonna ask him really nicely not to. I mean, you just killed all her friends, and you tried to kill her, and you're like, yeah, please don't. Like I didn't mean it. Like I'll what do you want me to do? I'll carry your books home from school for like a week, or it's just like, and he's just on the phone fucking dying, and Skeet Ulrich just like, come on, fucking get it together.
Yeah.
And his temper tantrum where he's just like ripping apart.
Oh, I love when Billy throws the phone and Stu's like, you hit me with the phone, dick.
Like you can really see like their entire friendship fell apart in that moment. It's like he doesn't want to play anymore. He just wants to get to the hospital so he doesn't die.
Yeah. It's like a very one-sided like friendship / relationship. Your Stu definitely like likes Billy a lot more than Billy likes Stu.
It's like a Gaston and
It's just
LaFleur.
more of a means. Stu is more of a means to an end than anything.
Just that look when they're eating lunch and Billy's just glaring at Stu, because you all have that idiot friend that's about to give away the secret.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't kill anybody. And Billy's just got those piercing eyes glaring at him. He's like, nobody said you did.
Yeah, really. That was like
It's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
You do that like this. Your friend says
Thanks,
that.
buddy.
I've gotten that look so many times in my life. Just someone going, like, are you about to say that? I'm like, Then you gotta just be quick and pull it out in a while. Do you think that Scream was just like a horror telling of like Beauty and the Beast? Like they're Gaston and LeFou?
Okay. I'm like, where is
Like, I mean, if you look at the
what?
dynamic,
Of like Beauty and the Beast.
yeah, if you look at the dynamic,
nobody kills
Matthew
like Billy.
Lillard is clearly LeFou, and Skeet Ulrich is Gaston.
Explain. Go on.
Well, you see,
Elaborate.
LeFou didn't want to do any of those horrible things to the Beast or anything. He just wanted the admiration and love of Gaston. And then, as you see, that's exactly the dynamic.
But how is
really
Skeet
not.
Ulrich like Gaston?
Well, if you remember, he has this swell cleft on his chin, and every last inch of him is covered in hair.
That's
So-
definitely not true about Skeet Ulrich.
Last episode, the scientist Golden. This episode, we got Professor Golden.
It's all the same. I majored in horror psychology. And
Horror 101.
Metaphors and how well, I mean, because it has been said many times, and I agree with it. Hold on, I'm gonna put these back.
Many ways.
that horror movies are just the modern version of the Grimm's fairy tales. Basically, they're the same idea. They present you with rules, and they show that like if you break those rules, you're probably going to die or get punished.
That
like
is
in horror movies, that is actually and that is a theory that I've read, and I agree with it, because if you look at like the slasher movies and even Scream.
Yes, I was gonna say Scream is like the
you lost your virginity, now die.
Is like one of the first like meta movies that like really like made like being like that talked about horror movies and being a horror movie fan, and like the rules that like are sort of like unsaid in the movies, but are like sort of text like don't smoke weed or have sex or you'll get killed.
Premarital sex.
Yes, premarital sex.
Like that scene in Jason X.
Don't say I'll be right back. All that stuff is all stuff that, tropes that horror fans know about, but this is like the first time that it was really like kind of like put on screen like that.
Yeah, and yeah, I like calling it, but it really, I did read that about the theory, and it does make sense that because fairy tales were cautionary tales for kids, like they're the way to teach kids like don't step out of line, or your dad will marry some horrible woman that does things.
Yeah, and I mean those
horror movies are a similar idea,
but they're like really shitty, like like puritanical, like they don't have sex or do drugs, or you deserve to be your fucking cut in half.
I mean, yeah, they definitely go over the top in the fairy tales, like it'll be like, oh, you ate a piece of cake before dinner, now your whole family is going to be murdered by a beast in the woods. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not ever gonna eat this cake before dinner. I mean,
what was some what were some things that you wanted to talk about, Anthony?
Before that, though, did you mention your favorite character?
Yeah, Dewey.
Oh, Dewey, that's right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss.
Mom said, "When I'm in this uniform, you treat me with respect." Like, I wonder how many.
Like a man of the law, yeah.
Like, I wonder how many like.
Sorry, Deputy Doofus, Deputy Dewey boy.
Like, how many small town police officers have a younger sibling?
Mom say it's okay.
Does Mom know?
And the thing is, I could see that being like a real dynamic, though, too, of somebody who's like a small town police officer and has a younger sibling. Because
I like when
younger siblings, that's how they are.
I like when he's when they're at the house and Ghostface calls, and then later he gets the phone and he like no one else is around. He like squints.
Yeah, he's
hello.
Hello.
He goes hello. David Arquette's really funny in this movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I like the thing that happens with the delay in the feed.
That was really clever. That was really good. I
like
that.
Delay.
Yeah. Also, that was a good way to set that up. And you knew that Ghostface was going to be outside, but it still was effective.
Couldn't they have tried to hide the camera though? Like Jamie Kennedy was this close to it and doesn't see, and it looks like a fucking camera.
They're all drunk though.
How drunk do you have to be this close to a camera that looks just like a camera and go, I'm just gonna talk on the phone this close? Like,
it was kind of tucked away. Like you could only kind of see the red blinking light.
Like Stu's parents are definitely rich. He probably saw.
Oh yeah, that house is insane.
He's like, oh, you guys just have a camera sitting on your TV. I don't know. That's one thing that bothered me.
L.A.
It's one thing. I just say
has a camera.
It's a little thing, but it was something that bothered me because it was like if they were to make it nowadays, the camera would have been like a purse or something. Then with
no, because even in Scream 4, they're setting up stupid. Okay, we'll talk about it when we get to Scream.
Yeah.
The funny thing is with the cover, we talked about this before, but with
it was another thing that it really
Skeet Ulrich having a mustache.
Oh, really? I never noticed that.
Really?
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, did they Man of Steel it?
But they that was another thing that Scream kind of pioneered, was the floating head fucking poster.
Did they really?
Yes, that was like the first one.
I mean, I could see that.
Can we go back to like the old school posters, like the
painting,
that looks like it would be
the ones
painted
that
on the side of a van.
Yes, yeah, I want those.
I love
those. Yeah, like
see if we can get it up. Thought you already said.
Yep. Oh yeah, he looks like a scum.
He looks like Johnny Depp's
big time scum bum.
He looks like Johnny Depp's stunt double.
That's that's really the only mystery in this movie.
It's-
Why Skeet Ulrich. I've never heard a definitive answer as to why. I've heard speculation, but
they did the photo shoot like after the filming was done, and they're like, dude, why you had to shave that mustache off? No, this is my personality now. That's how I am with my beard. Like I'd be like,
I think actually that's what I did here. Is
shave
they
off your
went
beard,
back
but-
and shot promo stuff for it after
well, yeah.
because it tested so well with audiences that, and there was something about them not knowing for sure who the killer was going to be when they wrote the script.
Gotcha.
Like there were originally, I think. Well, I know that originally, from what I've heard, David Arquette was going to be one of the killers, and then
They would never have one of the police force be one of the killers in a Scream movie.
I don't think he was going to play Dewey. I think the problem was he looked too old.
Oh yeah, he was originally going to be cast as one of the teens, but he wanted to be the cop.
I mean, if you're gonna talk about
Try to
eight, why
get
didn't
to
they?
make out with Courtney Cox? Hell
I
yeah!
say if you wanted to make the person look younger, just do what they did in Saw, when instead of
Put a baseball hat.
digitally like regressing the actor, they just put a backwards baseball cap on him.
Gave,
It worked for
Tobin
Steve
Bell a
Buscemi.
backwards baseball
It worked for
hat.
Steve Buscemi.
How you
Hello,
do?
fellow young people.
How you do, fellow kids?
Is that what you're looking for?
Music band.
My whole life. No. Remember when after he kisses
Yes.
Courtney Cox?
So, I after rewatching this movie, I have a new. I really like it a lot. Definitely has risen in my horror rankings. Definitely.
Oh, really? Awesome.
I'm really looking forward to reviewing. I've already rewatched all the sequels. I'm going to do them again while we go along. So this is been a fun series.
The
to
only one
revisit.
I haven't rewatched in a long time is 3.
It's the worst one.
And oddly
Far and
enough,
away.
so when you look at a lot of people's Scream lists, because after Scream 6 came out, and even after Scream 5 came out, a lot of people on Instagram like to post their order for the Scream movies, and so many people had Scream 3 as their number 2.
No,
A lot.
definitely
Trolls.
No.
No,
Like-
they're trolls. They won't tell you they're trolls. They're trolls.
Well, I don't think so.
With me, I think
You
like
know what? I think people just like bad stuff sometimes.
that's fair. That's me.
People just like bad things.
I think because like you're rewatching it, and it's like I enjoyed it when I first watched it. I enjoyed it many times, and I never thought that it belonged where it got put. But I mean, I see how it is because it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't meant for me. Like that's the thing. It was meant to bring this horror thing to like a new generation of the people that haven't seen it. So for that, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great movie. It successfully did what it wanted, what it was supposed to do. I wasn't its key demographic. Like I wasn't the person that they're going, hey,
I
look how good
definitely
horror
was.
can be again. I was the person that was already loved everything about horror.
What movies did you like at this point in time?
Fucking
Like what horror movies?
Donnie Darko?
2000.
But that's not really a horror movie, but
Was Donnie Darko?
99.
all I remember is that I was in the army at the time when this came out. So I think that was when I saw it. So I'm really bad with timelines and stuff. So I'm trying to think of
Yeah,
what
this
else
came out in
I was
96.
into back when I was in the army around that time. But I mean, I've always been a horror person, like always. Like even as a kid, I loved horror more than anything else. So I think with me, it was like this is something trying to say, "Oh man, look how good horror can be." And I'm like, "Fuck you, I already love it." So that's probably a real big reason why it's not as high for me. But and again, I'm by no means saying it's not a good movie. I think it's a great movie. I just think it wasn't meant for me. I don't. So back then when I was like, "Oh, I don't understand why it was brought to this level."
Gotcha.
Now
And you
it's
still
more of a
don't
like.
feel that way?
I understand why it is.
Okay.
It won't be at that level for me, but I can see why it is for so many
Okay.
other people.
Yeah.
Like that, I can see. Like it wasn't meant for me.
Real quick, because we're gonna wrap up here. Was there anything? This is for both of you guys. Going back with a rewatch, because every time I rewatch this, there's something new that, possible as it seems, like even with Halloween, where there's so much packed into a movie that you like and kind of overlooked, maybe noticed but overlooked before. Was there anything you appreciated a lot more on this watch through? And I know you just rewatched this a couple weeks ago, but now you rewatched it again. Did you guys find anything like that?
The this is gonna be like the dumbest thing, but that part where like the door is open, so it keeps the other door from opening. I've actually had that happen, so I understand Ghostface frustration at that point. Because I've had it where like a door was
so
jammed
that was in
into
the script, and it took them forever to find a location that had those
the
doors.
doors like the right spot.
How
And I should have gone to my house because my house right now has that at the bathroom and the tool closet. If you open up the tool closet, you can't open up the bathroom
even get
door.
to the school. It's okay.
how clumsy and uncoordinated Ghostface is.
And how sharp that knife has to be.
Yeah. Oh shit! I
Like-
really wanted to talk about that.
That knife is way too sharp.
We'll talk about that next week.
'Cause it
We
just-
can bring back some of the, 'cause this stuff happens in.
Yeah,
I
well,
was saying,
we're gonna
isn't
be
that
talking
something
about
that
Scream
happens
as
in
a
every
series,
Scream
Bob,
movie? That
'cause-
knife is just way sharper than it humanly should be.
We'll talk about that too.
Okay.
Also remind me next week to bring up
Professor will
at
come
the
back
end,
out.
very end credits. It says no thanks at all to whatever school district.
Yeah, because they wouldn't let them film there.
Well,
They ended up doing it at a community college.
they were filming there, and they stopped them. The Board of Education stopped them because they found out it was a horror movie. There's more to it than that. Not much, but it adds on to the nuance. It adds some nuance to it. But actually, just listen to the
commentary.
Thank you. Commentary with Kevin Williamson and
Thing where they talk.
Wes Craven. But
They comment.
Yes, highly recommend. Obviously, watch this movie. Clearly, yeah, it's a classic.
I'll still won't go with saying that Ghostface belongs on the Mount Rushmore, but I mean, definitely it's higher in my opinion than it used to be. Once I take a look at who it was
I
meant.
know
for.
you're 3. Who's your 4th?
Who's my?
The Creeper.
I don't know. Like
Chucky.
the 4th one's the hardest one. Like, yeah, I would probably say Chucky just because the Child's Play franchise has always been a huge thing for me, and I've always loved them. But I'm also that's because I'm more of a sarcastic killer thing. Like that's why Freddy's my top.
Gotcha.
I prefer them over the silent one. I think because it adds, but that's because
I like the silent ones, but at least like Ghostface is like kind of like a mix between both.
Yeah.
He's not really funny either because he doesn't really say any like clever stuff. He just says like I'm gonna gut you like a fish.
I like to know that my supernatural killers are enjoying themselves. Is all. Like there's much more enjoyment.
Well, they were definitely enjoying themselves doing this.
Right. So
I'm Anthony.
I'm Mr. Sir.
and I'm golden
This
and
is-
Professor.
This has
Trump.
been a Scream.
To scream, baby. No, this has been horror.
It's a Scream, man.